Gentlemen, welcome back to MGTOW Money. Today's topic, where Jordan Peterson goes wrong and right. Before we get to that, thank you to the ongoing support from the Patreon investors in this channel. And thank you to the men that bought me a cup of coffee via PayPal on the last video. Men, see the video description today. Because this channel is important, become a Patreon supporter. Let's get on to today's topic, Jordan Peterson, where he goes wrong and where he's right. Men, see the video description again, as I've included a link to a short summary. It's a quick little 20-minute summary of Jordan Peterson's writings, his 12 rules for life that I reread, as well as, of course, I read his book in preparation for this video. But if you don't want to read the book, you can read this 15, 20-minute little pamphlet, and you'll get the gist of what he's talking about in the link to the Amazon book. So anyway, I encourage you to look at the video description. By the way, I also want to say I don't dislike Jordan Peterson. I don't think he's some whack job. I also don't think that he's always right. I'm not a sycophant, etc. And I've also not spent my entire life and hours listening to him. I perceive Jordan Peterson as today's wise old mentor, uncle, if you will, who is really missing today in terms of for a lot of young men and fills a real vacuum in a lot of young men's lives, unfortunately. This was not true, men. I can speak from my experience 30, 40, 50 years ago where there were mentors of this nature. But needless to say, let's get on to some things where Jordan Peterson is correct, and I think that you can use them. And by the way, I am coming from this perspective of I'm approximately the same age as Jordan Peterson, and I think that does apply here, and that is extremely applicable to his advice. 1, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Men, he is dead on. I have mentioned this before. A strong, confident, proud man, I'm not talking about arrogant, is the key to your life. You need to be a strong, confident, proud man. Yes, you're going to have to do some exercises. You might want to learn a martial art or some sort of form of self-defense, etc. But at least get yourself into good, I'm putting that in air quotes, physical condition. Yes, there is a mind-body connection. A physically fit man, a man who feels like, hey, I can take care of myself. I can handle this. I'm not talking about a bodybuilder. I'm talking about being physically fit for yourself. You're not seeking external validation. You're becoming stronger because you want to be more confident and content and happier in your overall life. And more specifically, you're going to be more confident in everything and everywhere that you go. 2, you're going to clean up your room. And the corollary is, of course, make your bed. This, of course, applies literally and metaphorically. Speaking as a reformed, total slob, I don't think I started making my bed till I was about age 35, at least on any sort of regular basis. And furthermore, wherever I lived, it was basically a disaster. And I emphasize the word disaster, train wreck, however you wanted to make it out. It was terrible. As most people would say, it was, quote, disgusting, unquote, unquote. Men, you can do this. You need to literally clean your room, make your bed, tidy up things. Why, you say? Why do I have to fool with this? Because this correspondingly, again, mind and body, you need to organize your surroundings because it's going to organize your mind. And furthermore, if you're a minimalist, as I've encouraged you to consider, one of the huge advantages that you'll find to minimalism is, oh, that's right, there's a lot less to clean up. And it's a lot easier. Or if you live in a small residence, in other words, if you live in a apartment or a home that, let's say, under 50, 60 square meters, let's just say 500, 600 square feet, obviously, that's going to be a lot easier and quicker to clean than if you're living in a place that's 100 square meters, 120 square meters, etc. You get the point, men. Furthermore, speaking of organization, extrapolate from that, you're going to organize your financial life. Your number 2 priority, directly behind getting your health straight, is getting your money straight. I've done over 125 videos most of which are directly applicable to getting your finances straight. Go listen to those videos. Many of them have real-world ideas that you can apply today. 3, Jordan Peterson is dead on about this point right that I'm about to share. Listen up clearly. He says, define your terms. Be careful with the language you use. I take this a step further. When he says something, when a person says something to you, ask them to define what do they mean. Many, if not most, disagreements, confusions, missed expectations, etc., in my opinion and my experience, arise from a lack of definition. If I tell you I'm going to meet you at 2 o'clock at the coffee shop, and we've agreed where the coffee shop is, etc., that has clear definitions. If I say, I'll meet you around 2 o'clock and we'll meet in this general area of town, that has absolutely no definition whatsoever. In other words, don't use hazy words, expressions, unless absolutely necessary. For example, one of the things that I've seen on the comments section, going back to probably one of the first videos on this channel, was many men saying, quote unquote, referring to me, quote, you're not a MGTOW. Well, of course, my reply would be, define a MGTOW. So I'll leave aside how we're going to define a MGTOW. I'll leave aside who is in charge of MGTOW, etc. I just want these people to define what is a MGTOW. So I don't know what it is, but the point being is that start using language with clarity, or if you will, with an edge whenever you possibly can. That will benefit you. Next, where he goes wrong, where Jordan Peterson, I think, goes off the rails, if you will. Now, let me be clear. These are critiques. There's nothing objective about what I'm about to say. This is purely my opinion. First, I totally disagree with his overall, if you will, tradcon message, that traditional conservative message. I'm going to define that as being sort of the 1950s wholesome message where the man goes to school, goes to college, gets a job, gets married at a relatively young age, has a couple of children, moves to the suburbs, works till retirement age, lives in retirement for 10 or 15 years, and dies off. That, to me, is defining the traditional conservative message, if you will. I totally disagree with that. His emphasis on the, quote, importance of marriage and family, quote unquote, for a good life, in my opinion, is seriously mistaken. It is wrong. I completely and totally disagree, not just from my own experience, but in talking to many other men. Although I understand the importance of marriage, although I understand the importance of family, for some men, I think in today's Western world, in 2018, these things are not necessary for a fantastic life. They are not vital ingredients, if you will, because he seems to insinuate, again, in my opinion, that there's sort of this man-boy type thing where a man can never be a man until he's married and have children, etc. Again, I personally completely disagree based upon my own experience and based upon the experience of many other men. The world is too risky to go down that route. I won't go any further than that. I've done it numerous times. I do not necessarily recommend marriage again in today's Western environment because it is effectively a coin flip that could affect you very negatively if the coin goes against you for your entire life financially. Furthermore, I believe that Jordan Peterson seriously misses not discussing how you are giving up your most valuable asset if you choose to get married into that tradcon lifestyle, which of course is your freedom. There is nothing more important metaphysically in your entire life than your freedom. And the more that you have it, of course, the better. And it's certainly going to be a lot easier to achieve financial independence, to achieve that FU money that I've talked about numerous times if you are a single man. My second critique, specifically regarding Jordan Peterson, is I believe his dark, pessimistic view of life and suffering, etc. In particular, his discussions of male relationships, where I've heard him say, again, I'm paraphrasing here, where if you have two strange men coming together, there's inevitably some sort of tenseness and some sort of potentially combative situation. I don't know what world he's talking about, to be frank with you. I personally don't see that inherent competition within all men or even most men that I encounter in my daily life. Now, I'm sure that it exists, and I'm sure that it exists in some environments, etc. And yes, of course, I've had that experience, but the vast majority of my experiences has not been the case. And furthermore, the way that I perceive life is not in a dark, sort of cloudy sort of way. Now, that might be sheer naivete on my part, but I'll take my naivete and say that it's a nice sunny day outside versus saying, oh, well, it's cloudy outside. So I guess it is the glass is half full, glass is half empty type perspective. But men, I encourage you, especially MGTOW, remember how very, very lucky you are. No matter where you're starting out right now, you have a great life and a great future. You just get a few things right in your life, you will do fantastic things. Forget this whole darkness and pessimism and life is harsh, etc. No, you can take control by just getting a few things right in your life. Let me quickly summarize here, men. Yes, I think Jordan Peterson's overall ideas are good, solid ideas. However, I encourage you, go look at the video description. I did a video probably about a year ago, I don't know, a long time ago, regarding the Stoics. Read the Stoics. 2,000 years ago, men, they were giving you real, actionable ideas that you can use to move forward with your life, to the rich life that you deserve. Gentlemen, hit the like button if you found this useful. As always, John Galt out.